Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Detroit Table Talk. I'm your host, Dro, along with my wonderful and beautiful host, Carmen. How you doing today, Carmen?
I'm doing okay. I'm nervous, but I'm all right.
GB on the ones and twos. Shout out to GB. What up, GB? Carmen, you ain't got to be nervous.
I know, but I'm nervous.
You're a vet at this now.
You know, certain subjects still make me a little nervous.
Oh, that's definitely understandable.
You know, so
Definitely.
you know when y'all, or when we have guests that talk about intimate things, I'm usually, nervous. Twirling my fingers, or I'll usually stop and get me coffee every week.
I see the coffee nut up there.
I was so nervous. I haven't even eaten today. So we're gonna be good.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
We're gonna be good.
I believe so.
But today we are. That was just me,
That's all good.
Today we have a special guest, and we're gonna be talking about something that's really serious. Serious matter, and it's interesting because lately. Or matter of fact, in the last couple of days, we've had some talk about some individuals who had sexually assaulted individuals. So today our topic is going to be sexual assault.
Right.
So we have a guest here today. She is such a beautiful soul.
Thank you.
I'm going to let Tanisha introduce herself.
Well, my name is Tanisha. Hi, Detroit Table Talk. My name is Tanisha. I was sexually assaulted in my home, and so when I seen that you had posted, you wanted some people to talk about it, I decided to inbox you and tell you that I'm ready.
That's an awesome feeling to
Yes.
be ready because sometimes it take a minute, to come forth and to be able to share our story.
Yes.
But I remember, let me go back before we we really get like serious. I met you, oh God, it was a long time ago. But before I met you, I knew your mom.
Yes.
And your mom, let me tell you, her mom, Dro, was the sweetest person ever.
Don't make me cry.
I know.
Don't make me cry.
Every time I seen her, she had a smile on her face. No matter what, like her mother would attend the church that I attended. And I did not come to church that often. But if I didn't come to church, she would leave word that, she was looking for me. She wanted to give me my hug. So sweet. And every time church was over, she made sure she made her way to me, and especially to ask about my two sons.
Yeah, that's wonderful right there.
Because a lot of times I was held up because I was an armor bearer.
Yeah.
So I had, a lot of my time was occupied with my charge.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get to do a lot of mingling until after the woman of God had exited the building.
Yes.
So she would wait around just to give me a hug. And at that time, I was part of the prophetic team. And everybody pretty much know what the prophetic team is. And we had, I don't know if we had a conference. And I ended up meeting you there.
Without you even knowing that was my mom.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was her mom.
Spoke right into my life without even knowing who my mom was or none of that. And I didn't even know you knew my mom.
No.
Yeah.
Do you remember what
I remember everything.
I don't remember. Usually when I give a prophetic word, after I give it, I don't usually remember until the person say, you spoke a word in my life. You said this and this
you don't
happened.
remember nothing you said.
I don't remember anything.
I know.
Because if I'm not mistaken, were you an armor bearer?
I was an armor bearer at the time. Pastor Demita.
Yeah. Demita had me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So at that time, you all had the prophetic that night. I came it was a little bit after my mom passed. So when I came, you had spoke some things in my life while I was armor bearing Pastor Demita. You told me that I go into stores, and you said that I would go into stores and I would begin to touch things and not knowing the price. And you said that God was preparing me. And what was struck out to me is I've never been a materialistic person because I never had. You know, so you can't be materialistic unless you had it.
Right.
So when you were saying these things, you was like, God is gonna you was like, you're going to be in a room with men, great men, and you will have favor. And everything that you spoke was everything in my life. I'm originally from Chicago. And so you even went back into my past. You went into how that you said that my first lady is going to say some things that are harsh to me, but they're for my good. You begin to tell me to sow a seed in her life. You said, I don't care if it's small. You said, you tell her either go buy some ice cream or whatever. You said, but begin to sow a seed. And you said, don't look at it as you're sowing it to the woman of God, but you're sowing it to your future. So those were the exact words. I used to play this tape. One thing that I love that they did there was they gave you a tape, because a lot of times when you be on a prophetic, after you leave, you forgot everything that they said. You actually feel like, was you recorded?
Right.
Because you want to know what God was saying at that moment. So those were the things that you spoke into my life, and I would never forget it.
Play it to also encourage you during those times that you don't feel like God can hear you or God is, with you.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you remember when, towards the time when your mom had got sick, I used to go sit with her.
No, I didn't know that.
At the hospital.
No.
And I used to sit there with her. I used to try to go every day or every other day. And I used to sit with her and read the Bible to her and just talk to her. And I don't even remember. It had to be Nicole.
It was Nicole, probably Nicole on bed.
Or Mrs. G that told me when she went in. Because I kept saying, where's she at? Because usually them three
together,
always together.
Triplets.
I have a girlfriend and the sisters, the mother and the sister and her mom will always be together. And for a minute I didn't see her. And I kept saying, where's she at? And then when I heard, I was like, where's she at? And they told me, South. I was like, oh, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm there. Say no more.
Yeah.
So, I thank God that I was able to.
I appreciate that.
Be a part of her life.
Yeah.
And it's amazing just watching you because you have the same heart that your mom had.
Yeah.
So.
I hear that a lot.
Yes. Sweet. So today we're discussing sexual abuse. And for a lot of us, as I was just really doing some reading and some studies, it's a lot of people. When I say people, I say that for a reason, because it's just not women.
Yeah.
It's a lot of men and women who have endured some kind of sexual abuse. And when we talk about sexual abuse, it's any unwarranted sexual activity with penetration, using force, making threats, or taking advantage of a victim not able to give consent. And I was just blown by the numbers. And I want to give some facts, but I want you to, if you're comfortable, just telling us your story.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm originally from Chicago.
I can hear it when you say Chicago.
I'm from Chicago, and the Robert Taylor Projects. Back then, my mother wasn't. My mother was like the black sheep of the family, and so my mother ran away, and we ended up living in the projects. That went up to like the 16th floor. Chicago and Detroit projects is a lot different. A lot of people think they're the same, but we had so many buildings. So as we were living in the projects on the 16th, that went up to the 16th floor, we stayed on the 9th floor. My mom, her mother then raised her. So a lady that was like a mother to her was like a godmother. She raised my mother. And when we lived with this lady, I just remember when I was younger, my mom would always take me with her. I'm the youngest of four. She would go to work. And then she would keep me in a corner, and she was a bartender. So she would feed me chips while she would be at work. Because, mothers do what they have to do, not what they want to do. Right. And so as we were we were at the bar with my mom, and she would be working and doing whatever she had to do. I just remember being with her all the time. And God showed me when I got older, she was protecting me from something that happened to her. Because you got to remember, it repeats itself if you're not watching. So when she would go to the lady's house, the lady told her, stop, taking Tanisha to that bar. You let me watch her. So while my mom let the lady watch me, because she wouldn't let nobody watch me, she let the lady watch me, and the lady had a son. That was I was about 8 or 9, and he was I think Dwayne had to be like 19 or something like that. And so while my mom would be at work, the lady that was watching us, she used to drink a lot, and when she's drunk her liquor, she would fall asleep hard.
Oh, she'd pass out.
Yes, and so when she would go to sleep, that's when he would molest me anally every other night. I remember going to the bathroom. When I would use it, I would be bleeding because he was stretching me. I was a baby, and so he told me if I ever told, he'll kill my mother. And since my mother wasn't raised by her mother, which a mom tells their child, if anybody touch you, you let me know. Yeah. My mother never said those things to me, and I don't knock her because her mother wasn't in her life to tell her that. So as I grew up, I held it for so long. I didn't tell no one. So when my mom would come home, I never had those conversations where I say, well, he's doing this and he's doing that. So in my life, as I moved here to Detroit, I started running away. I started fighting a lot. I told myself that no one would never hurt me again. So the result of me hanging out in the motorcycle clubs, carrying razor blades on my tongue, fighting all the time, those are the result of somebody had took advantage of me, and I held it. I didn't tell my mother until I turned 31, and I'm 43. So that's why when a lot of people, I'm not with the R. Kelly situation, a lot of people say that, well, those things can happen because who could hold it? I'm not saying all of it is true or false, but I'm saying for me, I didn't tell my mother till I was 31. So some people don't share it. But now I share it because it no longer holds me. But some people hold it and don't say nothing. They just live, and a lot of people block it out like it never happened. But people can hold it.
So you never even got to the point where you were able to be vindicated through the criminal justice system?
No. But I did go back and faced him.
Did you?
Yeah.
At what point?
Before my mom passed, I went to my mother, and I told, I'm going to back that up. Pastor Dietrich had preached a message one day as I was in service. And he said, once you get the biggest devil over your head, everything else is going to be easy. Meaning, once you conquer the biggest thing that you feel like is conquering you, and that he said this to the whole house, but I took a hold of that. Mm-hmm. Everybody don't have to do what I did, which is going back and facing the person that did this, but I needed to. Because this man was still around my family. When we would go to Chicago and visit, we would have family functions because, he's like an uncle to me because his mother raised my mother. He's not blood related, but he's like an uncle. So when I used to go around him and he would be in a room, I would be off to myself. I would be very quiet. I was like in a spiritual prison because he did something to me. So I told my mother, I said, Ma, I'm going to go back and I'm going to face Dwayne. She said, okay, Tanisha. And before I went...
that took a lot of courage.
A lot. Before I went, she was being real mean to me, and I didn't understand why. I was like, well, maybe because she's sick, that's why she's doing this. I took a Greyhound down there by myself. She watched my 2 kids at the time, and I didn't know why she was being so mean to me. But as the story goes along, I understood. So I took a Greyhound down there by myself, and when I went there, now mind you, he was like 50-some years old, and he's married now. So I caught a cab to his house, and when I got there, his wife was there. He wasn't there. He was at work. So me and her were sitting there talking. I've never told her what I was there to do because God is not into confusion. So I never said, this is why I'm here. Okay. She just know I'm like his niece and I'm there visiting. So I began to talk to her, and she done fell in love with me. She like, girl, you got to go to church with me. So as I'm talking to her, he walks in. And as he walked in, I knew I was free because immediately when he walked in, I gave him a hug. And back then, I couldn't give him a hug. Okay. So I knew I was free then. So as he came in, he sat down. She flew in the back to get dressed for church. And he sat next to me, and I began to talk to him about his mom and, the back in the days and stuff. And he said, I said, you know why I'm here? He said, no. I said, I remember everything you done to me. I said, I remember you molesting me every other night. You told me if I ever told you, kill my mother. I said, and I believed you. And he started breathing real hard. And I remember he got up and went to the front door. And I told him he could sit down because I told him I was there to tell him I love him and I forgive him. Now, had he called me back in the day, I'd have killed that man. So as he sat down, his wife flew out. And she was like, come on, you going to church with me? He was sitting there looking distraught.
So the wife didn't hear?
She never heard it. She was in the back getting ready for church.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You never
I never
opted to tell her
no.
what took place?
I never told her.
Did they have children together?
No, they don't have no kids together. No.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
At the point that you felt comfortable enough, why? First of all, let's go back. Why didn't you feel comfortable enough telling your mom?
Again, my mother was never the type to say, if anyone touched you, which is so important that parents do that. Her mother was in her life. My mother learned from different people, so she took parenting from different people. Mm-hmm. And he told me if I ever told, he'll kill her. You know, if I was to tell. So he put enough fear in me to not ever tell her. And again, she never had those type of conversations with me about if someone touched you.
Man, you know, when you sit back and you think about the secrets,
mm-hmm.
you know, that are kept in families,
mm-hmm.
you know, and how traumatizing it has to be
mm-hmm.
for a child to have to continue to go around their abuser, you know, and a lot of times parents unknowingly leave their children
mm-hmm.
with these people who continue to abuse them and continue to threaten them. And a lot of times it's exactly what you said, you
mm-hmm.
know, if you tell this person, that person, I'm going to, you know, kill or do great bodily harm to, you know, your mother or your father.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've heard some young ladies also tell me that their abuser have told them that they were going to tell their parents that they came on to them.
Right.
You know,
mm-hmm.
It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You know, living in the day that we live in, a lot of women, when you sit and talk to women, a lot of men are not so much forthcoming unless you are in a relationship with them or probably married.
Yeah.
And it almost have to be pulled out of them.
Yeah.
But a lot of women have relational
mm-hmm.
issues.
Yeah.
Because of what was done to them when they were younger.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I remember growing up and being in a household that there was a lot of abuse going on. And the sad part about it is we don't pay attention as parents. We don't pay the attention that we should when our children just don't want to go over to certain family members' house. You know, we still force them because most times I got to go to work.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going out. You know what I'm saying? And when I say we, I'm not talking about myself because I was one of those mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the things that I went through as a child, I was like extremely overprotective.
Mm-hmm.
Like my children couldn't sleep out nowhere.
Right.
You know, and even when I let them sleep in my mother's house, I would call like 50 million times.
Right.
I think at one point my mother had even told me one day, she was like, if you keep calling, you might as well come get them.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, that's not a problem. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely makes you overly protective.
Yeah.
Were you overly protective with your sons?
I was, and I still am. But something you said about that's the key. A lot of times we don't pay attention because my mom asked me, she said, Tanisha, why you never told? I said, Mom, because what he told me. I said, and not only that, kids are straight from God. They're innocent. They can tell you and discern when somebody's spirit is not right.
Yep.
So he used to put his arms around me, and my mom used to be like, I always thought you was. I said, remember he's always put his arms around me and say, this is my little neat. She said, yeah. She said, but I thought you was just shy. I said, no, Mom, he was messing with me. He was touching me. And then that's another thing. A lot of people let kids, I was never like that, sit on their uncle lap and, you know, this and that. No, get down. You know, so we have to be the eyes and ears for our kids so these things won't happen. But I was very protective over my son, but that's why my mom was taking me to work with her, because it happened to her. Wow. So she was trying to protect me from something that happened to her. So the minute I faced the man that molested me, I called her. And this when God started showing me why she was being mean. I called her, I said, "Ma, I did it." She said, "Tanisha, now you're free." She said, "You're doing everything that I've always wanted to do, but the man that molested me is dead." I said, "Nuh-uh." I said, "Guess what? If I conquered it in here, you conquer it too, because we're together." So the enemy was making her think that because this person that molested her had passed, she not able to conquer it. But if we connect it, we conquer it together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it will cause you to be protective of your child. It will cause you to do all those things.
I was thinking about the time that, well, I want to say the last time that I got raped. It was about it was date raped.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's weird. It's weird to me because me and the guy dated for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and we broke up. And he began to date somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
but we stayed really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And in the midst of us staying good friends, my house was always open to my friends.
Okay.
And he was having issues with his new girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And when he called me, I was cleaning up, and he's like, I just want to talk, So I was like, come on over, we could talk while, I'm cleaning and stuff like that. And so when he came over, I'm cleaning up. I think I was mopping the kitchen floor.
Mm-hmm.
So he went into my room and laid across the bed to watch TV. And I was like, I'll be in there in a minute,
Mm-hmm.
Not thinking anything of it, because by us dating for those many years, we
Right.
became really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the young lady that he was dating, me and her became friends.
Okay.
And she was like, well, in my mind, I thought, oh, she's like a sweet girl. So
Mm-hmm.
when they started having issues, he would always come to me,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think I should do, and this and that or whatever. At some point after I finished cleaning up the house, I went in and I, kind of just sat on the edge of the bed, and he had dozed off, and I was kind of tired. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, kind of like, okay, get up so you can tell me what's going on so you can leave,
Mm-hmm.
so I can, do what I'm going to do. He began to talk, but we began to watch some TV. And as we were talking, I'm sitting up, like the headboard is like this. I'm sitting back on the headboard, with one of my legs up on the bed,
Mm-hmm.
and my other leg was on the side of the bed. So I'm just listening to him talk. He was laying across the bed, and he was just looking at me. And you know how sometimes you can catch that look in somebody's eye,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
something don't seem right. And in the midst of me looking at him, and I kept saying, "You all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm just tired." And I'm like, "Okay." So, he steady talking. And I kept saying, you sure you all right? And he was like, "Yeah." So in the midst of me sitting there and him laying across the bed, with his hand up just talking, he finally got up and he went to like hug me. And I was like, "Boy,
Mm-hmm.
gone or whatever." And that's when he, pinned me down.
Wow.
And I don't really want to too much go into the details or whatever, but after that, how can I say this? I was terrified because I had never seen him in that light before.
Right.
And then having to call somebody to tell him. I thank God for my friend at the time, where I was able to call her, and she
Yeah.
came over to the house, and we were able to make contact with our youth leader.
Mm-hmm.
So he was pretty much talking to her, and he told her, you have to take her to the hospital, so she can get that kit that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the hospital to get the kit done. We sat in one hospital for a period of time, and they ended up not having any kits. So they had to send us somewhere else to get the kit done. And it's cold, meaning I I don't know how many, rape victims they get a night or anything like that, but having to just sit in a room and wait to see if they can find a rape kit. And then when they come in, it's almost like it's like any other examination.
Yeah. And it's not.
And it was harsh.
Yeah.
And then having to have doctor after doctor, the police come in and everybody's asking you the same question, and you're still almost in the frame mind of being numb or frozen.
Yeah.
Like in your mind.
Yeah.
A lot of times I thought I was maybe talking, but the words wasn't coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And I think at one period of time, I even mustered up enough strength to say, get the information from the last person.
Because you're reliving it over and over, telling it.
Over and over. And their thing was, no, we have to hear it from you. So having to talk to the different people, and then when they finally found the rape kit to come in, it was just so cold. Like, put your legs up in a stirrum, open them up. We're going to do this. We're going to take the comb. We're going to comb. We're going to, go inside. And then, they're looking for evidence of forced entry and stuff like that for tears and all that kind of stuff. And just busting out, what I'm saying, just crying, and my best friend just sitting there, and she's looking like, I don't really know what to do. So she's trying to hold herself together for me.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't stop there, because you still, and I don't know if it's still in the same place. I totally blocked out Detroit Police Department and
we
sex
block
crime
out
units. But having to go down there to meet with a detective and talk to them, so cold, so rude, and it's almost like, and I know, and I had to come to terms in my mind to get through it, that they're asking these questions so that they can get, the information they need to get to determine, how they're going to proceed. And the way they was questioning me, I at one point I asked the man, I said, who do you think you're talking to? First of all, you're asking me a question, and it's almost like it's rushed. Like, if this happened to you, you should be able to say. And it's like, in my mind, I'm trying to gather myself.
Process.
I'm trying to process what you're asking me. I'm trying not to have a breakdown. And he finally explained, we have so many people down here that statements are not true. So they have to get the information. So they have to ask you certain things over and over. I just felt like, man, to be traumatized by being raped, to feel like you're being traumatized again, going to the hospital, and then you have to be traumatized by going to sex crimes however many times they want you to show up.
Yeah.
And you haven't even started the court hearings. Now, mind you, other than my best friend who took me to the hospital, and my youth pastor, nobody knew about it. Eventually, my youth pastor had to tell the woman of God.
Wow.
And I'm not going to say the name because, everybody think they're God. But
of course,
I'm not going to say the name. And when she asked me to come to talk to her, she also asked someone else in the church to be there because, quote unquote, she worked with, women or individuals who have been through the same thing or whatever. And even the coldness from the church, asking a lot of questions, like, you sure you didn't want it?
Wow.
Like over and over, like the answer was going to change or anything like that. The young lady who, and this was the pastor.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking like, you got to be kidding me. And although all this have happened to me, I have always been like somewhat, well, I want to say somewhat, but I've always been like a level-minded person. And I've always, because I've worked with individuals in ministry forever, and I had worked in the social service department in church and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of things that you feel like there's a way to handle stuff.
Yeah.
There's a way to ask questions. There's a way to not traumatize the person again.
Yeah.
And with the questions that the woman of God can start asking me, I started like getting angry.
Yeah.
You know, so then she puts me off to this other young lady. So we go into another part of the church. Now, I still haven't been to court. We go into another part of the church. And she's asking me all these questions like, the same. You sure you didn't want it? Did you fight them off? Did you really fight them off? She asked me some other questions, and at that time I didn't know what the heck she was talking about. Now I understand, but it was like, well, did you get off? And I'm like, whoa, in my mind, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, she's writing her number down, like, call me night or day if you need to talk. And I'm thinking, like, if you think I'm calling you, you and the woman of God is crazy. And if this is the person that she picked for me to talk to, we are doomed.
Yeah.
Any woman that comes forth, any man that comes forth, hopefully the women are not dealing with it. Hopefully the men are dealing with the men, but we're doomed. And then I think about the women that are in a church that have some concerns with, relational issues,
it's secret.
Period. Or with their spouses and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, like, what kind of counseling are they getting?
Yeah.
What are they saying to these women behind closed doors? Because I know what they said to me.
Yeah.
And it was in no shape or form comforting, helpful,
right.
Healing. It wasn't, it just made me want to, like, really just scream, like, y'all need to shut down. Y'all not equipped for this. So don't even take any more cases.
Yeah.
So of course the pastor wanted me to keep her informed on the case.
Yeah. How could you even go to her and even talk to her about anything after that?
I didn't.
Yeah, that's hurtful.
So when it was time to charge him, well, before we get to where it was time for them to charge him, when I went back home that same night, I didn't sleep for like 3 days straight. The same night and the next night, I had been living in this house for like 10 years or something to that effect. I had random men knocking on my door, ringing my doorbell.
Wow.
So I don't know if it was like a scare tactic or what. Acting like they were drunk. Is such and such live here and this and that. So I'm like terrified, because he kept calling my phone. He kept calling my phone after it took place, and he kept calling to apologize. Then he tried to say, I was drunk. I'm sorry. But the only thing that was going through my mind, and the only thing that I kept saying through the whole thing, like, you literally gonna rape me and my children are in the next room asleep. So after about the third night, I think it was the third night, my godmother, she's a pastor, she was calling and checking on me and stuff like that, and I told her I just can't sleep, and she began to tell me why I couldn't sleep and stuff like that. So she told me, she said, I want you to get up and come to my house. So I went to her house, and she's a praying woman, Pastor Donna Starling. And when I went over there, she was talking to me, and she was, I was telling her some of the stuff, but I kept breaking down. And she just began to pray for me, and I'm not saying this works for everybody, but at that moment that's what I needed.
Yeah.
She just held me, hugged me, and just prayed, continue to pray for me. And I ended up falling asleep. And I slept for, it had to be like over 16 hours.
Yeah.
She just let me sleep. But then going to court, I didn't tell anybody. So I went to court on my own. Went and testified by myself. And matter of fact, to this day, I still hadn't told anybody.
Wow.
So this is the first time, and I'm kind of giving like
Really?
a synopsis. Like, yeah, I didn't tell anybody.
Wow.
And my godmother, she didn't really like it. She was like, "You can't go through this by yourself." And I'm like, "I'm straight," you know. And I'm trying to think, was it her? I can't even remember who was at the court with me.
We
Because
blocked
they,
these out.
yeah, because they put me in a witness box
Yeah.
where it's not the courtroom, but it's like something connected to the courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
and only the victims are in there. And like the attorneys would come in and talk to us, but it was so the person couldn't see us.
Mm-hmm.
So they allowed the person in there just for a second, and then they had to leave out.
Okay.
So I'm sitting in there by myself or whatever, and you're just waiting until they call you into the courtroom to testify. So after, I testified and this and that or whatever, he got sentenced, and he went to prison. But the sad part about all of it was it destroyed. You know what I'm saying? It destroyed me.
Yeah, you got to live with this for the rest of your life.
And it makes me sad because I don't think men understand, and women, because you got some women out there that's just as whatever. I don't think they understand when they take the innocence of a person.
Yeah.
And that's something that they can never get back.
Yeah, it alters. I was afraid of my dad for a long time after that. I instantly thought, I said, my dad gonna do the same thing. Because a man did it to me. So instantly I was like, my dad's gonna do it. My mom, when I would go to Chicago to visit for the summers, the last day I had to be there, my mom was like, your dad gonna pick you up and he's gonna bring you to the Greyhound station to Chicago, and before you come back to Detroit. I was like, oh my God, I gave my mom
anxiety
hell.
attacks.
Yeah, I was saying all the time. I said, I can't. She didn't understand until I finally told her. But yeah, I gave it to her because I just knew he was going to do the same.
Yeah,
and he didn't.
I had anxiety attacks forever. Like, and among my associates, I'm learning to stop calling people my friend.
Woo.
But along with my associates, I don't think they quite grasp, because they get on me all the time about, why haven't you, found a husband? Why are your standards is like this or whatever. It's hard to maneuver relationships after that.
I agree.
It's just not an intimate relationship, but relationships, period.
Yeah.
For me, I love everybody. I'm like overly,
Me
loving
too.
to people, and it's scary.
Yeah.
Sometimes or whatever. I'll choose to disconnect myself
quick.
at the drop
Me
of the
too.
dime,
Me too.
But even when after that I tried to go to counseling, and I just couldn't do it.
Really?
I think of 2 years ago, I caught myself looking for a counselor. I was like, okay, this is crazy. I'm going to counseling so that I'll be straight. So I'm looking, on the internet for a counselor or whatever, because you have to find the right counselor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just because you go to a counselor and it doesn't work out, don't mean that all counselors are like that. You just didn't find the right one. And, because I was in the church so heavily, I picked this counselor. It was called I don't know, prophetic counseling.
No, you got to go outside the church.
But I thought it was an independent counselor.
Okay.
But I thought because of that name, like, yes, I can get counseling. Then she can hear from God, And
You probably would have been in there counseling her.
After about the second one, I knew I wasn't. Well, after the first one, I knew I wasn't coming back. But then I said, okay, you just, it might be your anxiety. You just trying to find a way not to do it. So I went back a second time, and after the second time, we spent at least 35 minutes of her telling me about all the different herbal teas that she had. And I'm thinking, I'm sitting there like, I'm paying for this session, like, out my pocket.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not coming back. I see a lot of women on social media that attack other women. And don't get me wrong, I had enough strength for when I was date raped to call my friend, to talk to my friend about it, and eventually my godmother, Pastor Dinah. A lot of people don't have that strength. And because of what comes after that, like I said, with, having to report it, then having to go to a hospital and pray and hope that they have a rape kit to get done. And then having to go through sex crimes, because it happened in Detroit, Detroit sex crime, which was the worst place ever. And then having to go to court, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And to get through the hospital and just try to get through sex crimes, I literally thought about so many times, like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this. But it was always, my godmother saying, you can do this, baby. You can do this.
Yeah.
I would have turned and ran. So I get why a lot of women don't come forth in the front, because society has made us feel like, oh, it's because of what you wore, or because of the way that, your body is created and stuff like that.
It's no excuse.
It's no excuse,
There's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
It's just sickening,
Yeah.
Now, some things, I'd be like, okay, now, and I have to check myself too sometimes. I'd be like, okay, now, you got to muster up that strength. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
But, you do have to realize everybody don't have the same kind of strength inside them.
Yeah, and a lot of women they are sitting silent because they don't want to go through that. Because I know after I told mine, his sister ended up telling my sister that she didn't believe me. But my thing is this: what do I got out of going all the way from Detroit to Chicago to go tell this man? I took the power. That's the only thing I took back from him was the power back. Other than that, I didn't get nothing from doing that. So it's a lot to go back. And
me taking the power back was for that young man was going through the court system.
Yeah.
And making it up in my mind that I'm going to do this by myself. A lot of times you can't sit and talk to the people that are close to you.
Right.
Because for some reason, which is weird on its own, it always come back to you. And I'll always remember the pastor that I spoke with, and one of her first words outside of, "Are you okay?" So the first word was, "Are you okay?" Now, mind you, when she was questioning me, when I came in, I, had a seat. She's walking around eating fruit. There's somebody else in the overflow, one of her armor bearers in the overflow attending to, their children. So she's back and forth talking and getting fruit and, screaming at them, but trying to talk to me. "Are you okay?" That's what I said. Well, tell me what happened. So I'm trying to tell her, but I'm looking at, this is too much going on right now. Like, this is not even a safe place. This is not even a comfortable place. So when I started telling her, what happened, she literally interrupted me and said, "You sure it's not what you wanted?"
The nerve.
I really despised that person after, And although I chalk it up as, okay, she's just not informed, maybe she wasn't taught, but then I also think about how many people, how many women have they had that same attitude,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, toward or whatever. I pray that mothers and fathers are a little bit more watchful
Yes.
of their children. I was telling you in the beginning about the numbers, and just listen to these numbers. When you talk about the scope of sexual abuse and rape, every 68 seconds, an American is sexually abused. 68 seconds.
68 seconds.
There are over 463,000 rape victims in America each and every year. That's a lot of people. Young Americans are at its highest risk for sexual violence. And this study just came out in May.
Wow.
90% of adult rape victims are women. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience sexual violence in their lifetime. 1 in 2 transgender Americans will experience sexual violence. 2 in 5 gay men will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. Only 2% of reported sexual assault turn out to be false. 2%. So that means we need to listen more.
Yeah.
Everybody ain't lying.
Yeah.
Everybody is not fabricating. Only 28% of sexual assault victims report their experiences to the police. 28%. So that tells me right there that we have to reprogram the way that the police even look at, rape or sexual abuse.
It's a lack of compassion and a lack of empathy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I got a question. Can I ask a question? So, did you say yes?
Go ahead.
All right. So, Dro, I got a question for you, Dro. Knowing that you have young kids, how do you feel about this? Knowing you hearing their story, you have a daughter, correct? So knowing you hearing these stories about that and his family members close by, how do you feel about that? Do you shelter your daughter, even your son? Because nowadays it's more sons are getting abused, and nobody say nothing about that. So how do you feel about that? Do you shelter your kids a little more?
Absolutely. I've always been overprotective of my children. They don't go over their friends' house. The only place they really go is their family house, and I honestly don't have. My children don't say we don't want to go here, we don't want to go there. So I'm not gonna say right now I don't have that problem.
But not all children who are abused say they don't want to go. Some children are groomed to think that you're grown now, or this is just part of life. Some are groomed to think that it's okay.
Yeah.
To be touched.
Yeah.
So you get some that try to inform whoever it is that's parenting them that something is going on without telling them, but a lot of people don't.
Right.
Because they're taught that this is just part of life.
Yeah.
A lot of women, when you talk to them after they go through counseling, a lot of women would tell you, I didn't know it was wrong.
Yeah.
Because the grooming process is so subtle, before it gets to the actual act.
I think a lot of, as with a lot of things starts in the house. So with my children, I seldom leave and kiss my daughter. I never let my daughter sit. Maybe 2 or 3 times when she was younger, maybe when she couldn't walk, I let her sit on my lap. But other than that, I don't hang with men, so it ain't like she come around, she be around a bunch of men or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
what you just said, they said 55% of assaults occur at or near the victim's home.
I was just about to say that. Mine's is in the home, so it can be in the home.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna make no excuses. It's not nobody in the crib but
Yeah.
me, and I don't fuck with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Excuse my
Right,
language, but I don't like nobody around my children.
Right.
To be honest with you, it's really their mom who let them go around the family.
Right.
And she trusts them, I trust them too. So but me personally, I don't trust nobody.
Yeah.
So that shit is that.
Because it's sad when you even
But you
hear
see the way he look at
It's
me.
out of the
playing.
question. Like motherfuckers.
Because it could be granddaddy. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
It could be
Uncle.
daddy. It
Yeah,
could be uncle.
I'm not finna make no excuse for nobody.
Yeah.
When it comes to that shit, so that's why I've been being silent, because that's a serious topic.
Yeah,
and
your whole demeanor changed.
It's nothing about it that's cool.
Yeah.
It's weak shit.
Yeah.
Like, be a fucking man, and
But there's
women.
too many women out here that will relinquish sex for free or for nothing. But we learned that it's not about them being able to get it, you know, from other women who's willing to give it. It's about power.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and then a lot of people that's been molested become molesters themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. You got men that were molested by somebody else. Now they're doing it to somebody else.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I've always said, you got free will.
Yeah.
I got my ass whooped by my old dude when I was young. I don't whoop my son ass. So you have the power. You have the power to stop the cycle of shit that's going on.
That's right.
You know, if you choose to do that, then that's on you. You need your ass whooped, and you need to be locked up, or however people gonna handle your ass.
Also,
But go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I was about to say, and also the majority of all the people that has been molested, some run away from that. They're the parents now, so they kind of like, you know what I'm saying, shelter their kids, and they feel as though I'm gonna protect you a little more than what I've been protected. So we, our parents, our cousins. First of all, we don't even really hang with our cousins and our aunties like that now. So it's nobody to really for real deal rape us. If only if we raping our own kids. If we gonna really, let's be honest, like, you know what I'm saying. So now we have a little more sheltering over our kids. We don't even want our kids to even go to the football game.
Yeah.
Because we're not safe. Your kids is
You
not
said
safe.
be attentive to
It's a lot of things that's going on out here that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially sex offenders.
Yeah.
The thing about, and I just want to bring this to the table, and I know a lot of us are not into religion, but at the end of the day, the Bible talks about Satan, you know what I'm saying, he you know what I'm saying, go to and fro, seeking who he can devour. And a lot of times the enemy knows what potential and knows what, you know, how the greatness that's on the inside of you. And a lot of times he will try to kill that, you know, and a lot of times it's through stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It breaks your spirit.
Yeah.
It breaks you down mentally, physically, and a lot of people don't come back. They don't recover from it.
Right.
It takes some folks more than not a lifetime to get past, you know, this. And I want to keep going back to women and having relational issues. You know, I hear people all the time like, oh, you know, he or she doesn't click well. You know, they don't. You don't never know what a person have endured in their life. You know, we're so quick to label people without, you know what I'm saying, knowing their story. And a lot of people don't want to know the story. But when we talk about perpetrators of sexual assault, listen to this number. 75% of assailants are either acquaintance, family members, or romantic partners of the victim, with only 19% of perpetrators being strangers. That's effed up. Only 19% of, you know, it being somebody that you don't know. 93% of juvenile victims of sexual assault know the assailant, with 34% of them being family members. 50% of assailants are over the age of 30, and 57% of them are white. When we talk about the long-term effects of assault victims, we talked about, man, it's a lifetime trying to mend your life back together. Then when you feel like you got it together, you find out that, you know, I still got some work to do. You know, I've never been married, but I have been in relationships where I have been intimate, you know, with the person. And the struggle, even with that,
Your mind.
mentally,
Triggers.
you know, I don't. Yeah. So you know, you sometimes you have to take a step back. You have to take a step back, and try to pull it together as much as possible.
Yeah.
But suicide is one of the major things that women as well as men who have been sexually assaulted, one of the major things that they contemplate, especially right after.
Yeah.
And there's a large number, well, it's not large, but it's large enough. 13% of people who actually commit suicide after it. Because you have to deal with the shame, the guilt, you know what I'm saying? You have to look yourself in the mirror. And a lot of times that mirror is blurred based off of what you went through.
Yeah.
It's sad. They say your work and your school life can be drastically impacted by victims.
Yeah.
I remember going to school, and my first year of college bombed. I didn't make honor roll. I mean, I'm thinking about it and I'm laughing because I'm like really big on education, and with the exception of the program I'm in now, I would get mad if I would get a B. I'd be like, no, I need my A. But I remember, going to college after this took place, and I couldn't concentrate. I was having nightmares. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was having memory recall. The littlest thing would take me back.
Yep.
The littlest touch, that's why, and I'm going to say this, and I hope it helps somebody. Men, and I'm only saying men because I'm a woman, be very careful how you communicate with a woman. How you stuff that can be said jokingly can impact a woman, mentally, especially if she's been through, any kind of, assault.
That's why we have to talk about it, though, because a lot of times we get in relationship. I know I have. We get in a relationship. We have to put. A lot of people ask me all the time, like, Tanisha, how could you just tell it? I'm an open book. Nobody can never write about me. I'm going to tell about myself.
Tell your own story.
So we have to have those conversations with people, even though some people be like, I can't tell my business. I have to.
But that's because a lot of times people throw it up in your face, but you have to.
I have to because I want you to be able to know how to deal with me. I'm fragile in this area, but that do come too, where they'll throw it up in your face and things like that. We can be, you just gotta, it can happen.
But then they're not equipped to deal with the changes that a man or woman is going to go through. Not, it's not an option. This is some things that the person is just going to go through. You have to put it in your mind that I'm a stick and stay.
It's going to be the right person.
The right person.
He has to be.
That help.
Yep. If he's the right person, he going to know how to deal with that. Because you done told him, like, hey, I've been through this. This may trigger me. Because I know for a long time, my mother used to ask me all the time. She's like, Tanisha, when I was younger, why you don't wear dresses? Why you know this? Because you go through that phase of, you don't want to show yourself. You don't want people looking at you. So you begin to cover up and tuck things in because you went through that. So you don't even want to cause attention on yourself.
I remember, and I'm laughing now, but I remember when I started developing. I used to wear 3 shirts so that, you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
That I was developing, and my auntie was playing with me one day. We was running around a pool table. She was trying to chase me, and she bumped my chest, and she was like, "You got breasts," and I was like, I went into like a shock or whatever. I was like, "Oh my God!" I've started putting on more clothes.
You go through that.
Yeah,
it's a part of it.
I don't know. We got to talk about it more, like you said, so that women can get free and
men.
We can take our power back. Men too.
Yeah.
And I wonder, does it have a lot to do with Hollywood demasculating our men?
Yeah,
Or
we teach them not to really talk about what they...
Or is it something they've been through? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So they don't share.
They don't share.
I can't speak for a man. I'm like you, Tanisha. I'm an open book.
Yep.
I'm going to tell my own story. You ain't finna tell shit for me.
That's right.
I'm telling myself. But yeah, I'm an open book. A lot of men don't know how to communicate neither. So just be, like I said, you can break a cycle.
Yeah.
It's no excuses. Men learn how to be men. I think a lot of men don't know how to be men. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's because being one in the, or if you didn't have a man in the household." Fuck that.
Right.
I see how a woman act. I see woman ways. I know you're a woman. It's no need for me to act like that.
Right.
And another thing, real quick, any type of individual, I can't speak of women, but any individual that throws up rape or any type of fucking assault that you've been through, anybody been through, it's not a man. It's real simple.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's the shit that a lot of individuals done did, males done did, it make men look bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Paint a bad picture out here. We got men out here, we got individuals out here, because they're not men, but they doing shit to kids.
Yeah.
Boys and girls. And like, this shit ridiculous. Older women, younger boys, younger girls. It don't fucking matter. This shit is just ridiculous. And like you said, I do believe it comes to a certain extent. It's about power.
Yeah, it is.
You know, especially with the celebrities. I'm not gonna throw no names out here, but you know, with the celebrities, I think it comes with the power. But these nobodies out here, I don't know what the fuck make these individuals out here do the shit that they do.
Yeah.
I can't defend these motherfuckers. I'm not gonna defend them.
And I know as parents, I don't have any daughters, but as parents, we have to be on watch over our children, is especially our daughters, and sons too, because I have sons. But we have to be mindful that this world that we are in is not a pure world.
Yeah.
And everybody doesn't have pure intentions, and sometimes it saddens my heart that we sexualize our daughters.
Yeah.
You see 2-year-olds that have weave in their hair down their back, that have on booty shorts, that have the cut-off shirts, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Let them be a kid.
Yeah.
Then when they get to be 10 and 12, we're letting them put on heels, we're letting them put on nails. We're pushing them to be adults before their time.
Yeah.
And because I said we don't live in a pure world and everybody don't have the best intentions, you have this sicko, whether it's inside the family or outside the family, is watching your child. They're grooming them. You guys can get the book Life Happens, How God Sustained Me. But in the story that I, disclosed in here about one of my sexual abuse encounters, it was a grooming process. It started off with when we go to the store, with the kids, you get a little extra.
Yeah, that happened. To me.
Don't tell them I'm letting you get an extra piece of candy.
Yeah, yeah.
Not only, I'm getting everybody chips, but you get a pop too.
Grooming.
Being left with uncles or, in-laws or whoever it is, and you get to stay outside 10 minutes longer than the other kids. They have to come in. You have to watch that. When you have older men that is overly interested in your daughters and your nieces, don't turn a blind eye and say, oh, he just loved his niece. That's his favorite niece. You have to start asking questions and start making these young women and young men feel like, hey, I got your back. Is everything okay? You can talk to me. Nobody's going to do anything to me. Nobody's going to do anything to mama, daddy. You can let me know if somebody touching you. And you have to have these conversations with children.
Right.
And also, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Also, women need to be more cautious of who they leave around their children.
Yes.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Bringing all type
New
of men.
boyfriends.
Yep, new boyfriend. Watch my baby while I go to the grocery store. Things like that.
I got grown children. My I can count on one hand and maybe only 2 fingers off one hand the men that I've allowed in my children's life, in my household, that my children saw. That one incident where, what happened when they were in the house, that was enough for me.
Right.
And I was like, no. So you
Right.
have to be very careful. But I put in the chat the National Sexual Assault Hotline. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 1-800-656-4673. Again, that's 1-800-656-4673. If you are, or if you know someone that has been or is currently being abused, reach out and talk to somebody. If you
Yes.
haven't mustered up enough courage to tell someone that's, close and dear to you, reach out and talk to these people, and teachers, even as, when I was a teacher, some of the stuff that these young ladies would tell me, but because I was a mandated reporter, I would have to tell,
Yeah.
what's going on. But please, I beg you to talk to your daughters, and your sons today, and just go over letting them know the parts of their bodies, matter of fact, forget just the parts of the body that people are not supposed to touch unless you agree. But people shouldn't be putting their hands on you, period, unless you agree to it.
It's too much shit going on around here right now, so
It is.
really you should keep your hands to yourself.
It is.
Seriously.
We appreciate Tanisha
Oh,
coming
yeah,
to
we
the table
definitely
and
do.
telling her story.
We appreciate you.
This is
Thanks.
part 1 of some more parts because
It's a deep topic.
we have to continue to have this discussion so that I keep saying women because I'm a woman. But
You
so
can
that
only speak for the women. Men got to
and
do
men
better.
can
Yeah.
heal. You know what I'm saying? And start knowing that we're part of the Me Too. We're part of the Me Too movement. We may not have the voice that some Hollywood stars do,
Yeah.
but our story still matters.
Yeah.
You know.
And you ain't got to be no celebrity to, make a point.
Yeah.
Common sense. A baby can teach you some common sense. Just, you got to take notes. We got to do better as people.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And if
You
you
know.
don't teach your child the world, somebody gonna teach them.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So we have to talk to them.
And
And
it's not what happened to you, it's how you
Get through it.
get through it. So link up, contact a counselor, call the 1-800 number. They'll give you a number to counselors in your area.
Yeah.
But until we talk about this subject again, we appreciate everybody at the table, everybody who came by the page and stayed. And, we just ask you to continue to pray for victims all over because it's hard telling your story
Of course.
when people don't believe you, and especially your family and your parents.
And,
Yeah.
and one last thing. I know y'all say go through therapy and counseling and all this, but handle it how you need to handle it. Because some people, I got through my situation for years just keeping it in. And back in the day when I was younger and I was getting my ass whooped, we had counselors in the school that would come up to you, ask you. I had to go to school with black eyes, burns on my face and shit. And I had to tell them, come up with an excuse because at that time it was what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Yeah.
We need to stop teaching our children.
I don't think that's taught now. So I think it's a little bit different.
No, it is still taught. I hear a lot of people saying it to their kids.
Oh, I haven't heard it in a while.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing that you can teach your child in this day and age.
Yep. But yeah, handle
Stop
it.
doing stuff that they have to keep a secret.
Exactly. But handle it how you need to handle it. And when it comes to that point that you can release it to somebody else, release it. But at least have that talk with yourself in the mirror. Look yourself eye to eye every day. and just get yourself motivation and build yourself up to be a stronger individual.
Yeah.
We love you
know.
at the table. Before we leave, we wanted to show this video of the trouble with Gabrielle. And with one of my books, Life Happens, How God Sustained Me, it talks about me being a synopsis of me being date raped and sexually abused. So pick this copy up. You can always inbox us at Detroit Table Talk. And then, you'll have the information online too. So we'll see you back at the table next Saturday at 5-ish. No, I'm sorry, 5 o'clock.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Tanisha, for coming out.
Thanks.
From Amazon best-selling award-winning author Sylvia Hubbard comes a tale of intrigue, desperation, and danger. In The Trouble with Gabrielle, the story is strangely familiar, yet surprisingly sensational and fresh. This sordid tale of a one-night stand gone horribly wrong is one you don't want to miss. Don't miss that Oliver Farnsworth probably thought he'd be alive long beyond the tryst with Gabby. Don't miss that Gabrielle's lifelong dream was never to be pregnant and desperate. Don't miss that she is about to be murdered. The stepmother plans to kill her to gain the fortune Oliver Farnsworth left. With nowhere else to turn, what's a woman to do? Find out what ultimately happens in Sylvia Hubbard's The Trouble with Gabrielle.
Again, we wanted to come on and give the National Sexual Assault Hotline. If you or anyone that you know have been sexually violated, you can call 24 hours a day, 1-800-656-4673. Again, that's 1-800-656-4673.